Have you ever had an entire week of Mondays? I'm a judge, and I've had them, and you can bet that a lot of the people who appear before me professionally have had them too. You know those weeks where you lift up your baby and they projectile vomit in your face? You know those weeks where you get a flat tire in the middle lane of the freeway during rush hour? You know those weeks where the boss tells you you can't present the project you've been working on for 6 months. You can't even be in the room. But we get through them. And you might find yourself driving home. Kid number 1 is at a practice. Someone else is picking them up. You're doing the daycare dash to get kid number 3 so you could make it home to get kid number 2 from the bus stop. And the whole way home, you're thinking about that bottle of wine that you're going to open when you get there. Because it's Friday, but remember, it still feels like Monday. So you make it home, you get everybody upstairs, you get your bottle of wine that you've been thinking about, you get your kids out of the clothes that aren't gonna fit in a month anyway. And for yourself, you're like me, that COVID left you unused to pants with buttons and hard-soled shoes. So you and your bottle of wine go back downstairs, leave the kids upstairs occupied, go back downstairs, preheat the oven, put the water in the pan on the stove, and you and your bottle of wine sit down for just a second. And you doze off to sleep. And the next thing you know, what you see, hear, and feel is fire. You're discombobulated from that wine, but not discombobulated enough that you don't remember that your kids are upstairs. And not discombobulated enough that you can't figure out that you can't get up there. So you run out of your house screaming for help. You dial 911, and while you wait for them to come, you sit and watch your house burn down with 2 of your kids in it, knowing that the one who is alive because they weren't with you. And you find yourself in front of somebody like me, a judge. Someplace you never thought you would be out of a somewhat ordinary situation. Because you always thought that orange jumpsuits and courtrooms were for other people. So what do you want the court to know? Do you want the court to just go off the facts? You got drunk, you thought you could cook, your house burned down, and 2 of your kids died? Or do you want the court to stay curious? Do you want the court to ask enough questions to discern that you just had a week of Mondays? Now take a breath, because it's not you, obviously. But now that you know it's not you, and if I told you that this was a Black woman drinking malt liquor in low-income housing, are you still curious? Do you want to know about her what you wanted the court to know about you? Because this is based on a real case. And the real facts are that the zip code that this person was born in accurately predicted that she would be exposed to a lot of violence. Add that to a week of Mondays. And the school she went to didn't give her opportunity, it limited her opportunity. Add that to a week of Mondays. And her job as a store manager provided a salary above minimum wage, but it's still not enough for dependable transportation or reliable daycare. Add that to a week of Mondays. And that malt liquor she was drinking also numbed tooth pain because she didn't have insurance. Add that to a week of Mondays. And when you look at the sum, her whole life had been a week of Mondays. And as a judge, I make it a point to stay curious. I make it a point to ask the extra questions, including why. Because I know that if I don't, I will miss something important. And let me tell you what I would have missed in this case that I just told you about. I would have missed that she had a clean record. I would have missed that she was the victim of sexual assault instigated by her mother when she was 13. I would have missed what she had done for herself before she even got to the courtroom. And most importantly, I would have missed her potential. But in considering all the facts and circumstances and determinants that got her there, I was able to craft a sentence that both punished her and acknowledged that 2 people died, but also to put her on the right track. And now she has a great job, she is in love, and she has rekindled her relationship with her surviving son. So I would like to think that she started at Monday, I got her to Tuesday, and gave her the tools to get herself to Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Of my almost 15 years on the bench, I will tell you that I have encountered people from whom the public needs protection. And I have also encountered people who just needed a second chance. So imagine if all judges went beyond the facts and first impressions. Imagine if all judges didn't think that they knew everything about some people and didn't even bother to learn about others. Imagine if all judges took all the facts and determinants into consideration for both the victim and the defendant to figure out what got everybody to the courtroom. And imagine if all judges considered the whole story, every point of view, in making the decision either to lock up or liberate. And this call to action really isn't just for judges. It is something that we all can do and apply in our everyday lives. So the employee that didn't finish the project on time, I understand. It is completely plausible that they are just lazy. I get it. Or upon staying curious, you might find out that they had a question that they were too afraid to ask. The partner who is watching TV when they're supposed to be washing the dishes, they could be lazy too, but those are your choices. It's on you. But upon staying curious, what you might find out is that they're trying to figure out a way to tell you something hard, like they lost their job. Or I'll take myself as an example. June 7th and September 12th, my kids' birthdays. Every year, you will find me in a corner just for a couple minutes doing a really ugly, full body sob. They may appear as the tears of an overly emotional middle-aged woman. But upon staying curious, what you would find out is after my first child, everything swole up, something pressed on my optic nerve, and I went blind for 5 days. And so those tears are tears that I can see my babies in the first place. Stay curious longer than you ever thought you would, because the best opinions and the best decisions are ones that are well-informed, ones that take everything into account. Because when we do that, we see that so many of us are better than our worst week of Mondays, and many of us are just trying to get to Friday. Thank you for coming.